The Daily Jaws 50th Anniversary interview series is a collection of amazing conversations exploring the legacy of Steven Spielberg's screen adaptation of Jaws through the eyes of the fans. We'll be talking to famous fans, shark experts, people whose lives have been changed by the movie, and those that were there that helped to make the film. Today's episode has been made possible by Stern Pinball, the world's largest designer and manufacturer of arcade-quality pinball games. But we'll be telling you more about them later. We'll also be telling you about two amazing organisations that are very close to our hearts. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Spielberg plus John Williams being able to come together, that's one of those marriages made on high. That particular idea that he had for the two notes in Jaws is one of the all-time greatest movie composing pieces ever. You know, that and Psycho. I don't think there's any single film that's ever caused as much of a fervor over any particular species of animal. I think next to Black Sabbath, there's nothing heavier than those two notes.
Hey guys, it's Ross over at the Daily Jaws with another exclusive 50th anniversary interview. Today's guest literally doesn't need an introduction. He's written some of the greatest rock songs of all time. But the most important thing about my guest is that he's a massive Jaws fan. I can't believe I'm about to say this next name. Guys, please welcome Slash to the Daily Jaws. Slash, welcome.
Hey, hi. So this is cool. Don't get to talk to people about this particular subject at any great length anyway, too often.
Well, it's part of a series, and there's a lot of people out there who have been talking about Jaws for the 50th anniversary with me, and they're kind of seeing it as Jaws therapy. They're just kind of getting their thoughts about Jaws off their chest. They feel so much better at the end of it. So hopefully this will be sort of semi-cathartic for you. And I won't charge for my time, I promise.
Yeah.
So when was the first time you saw the movie, and what were your memories and experience of that?
I saw Jaws at the Century City theater complex in Century City. I was 10 years old, and I went with my then girlfriend and her parents. And I remember her dad, whose name was King, big
Mm.
guy from North Carolina. He leaned down to us and said, "Now remember, kids, this is just a movie," because the word was out that this movie was really terrifying.
Mm.
And that was it, man. That was the best movie I'd ever seen at that point.
Oh,
It's
is
still
it?
one of my favorite all-time go-to movies. I mean, it's if I had a top five list of movies, it's in there.
Yeah, it's the thing with Jaws that I find, and particularly speaking to a lot of the guests we've had on the series so far, it is in people's top 10, top five movies. It's just one of those movies that's consistently in those lists. And I think you're right. It was such a special film. Sadly, I wasn't old enough to watch it back in '75. But I did have the pleasure of watching it in the cinema when it came out back in the UK a few years ago for 3D and BFI. And it was almost like being back in the cinema back in 1975 because it played exactly as you would have expected it to back at that time. But everyone was laughing, jumping, gasping. It just played perfectly.
It's one of those unique cinematic experiences that just has all these things to it that makes it so perfect. And it's a pretty simply made, not a huge budget movie. I mean, there's Spielberg, of course, but
mm.
and the cast is great, but I mean, it's a magical confluence of different things that just happen to produce this once in a lifetime movie, you know?
It is, and there are so many aspects there in Jaws that are so good. And as part of the series, we've spoken to a lot of filmmakers and actors and all kinds of people from that world. And when it comes to film craft, it's magnificent. But obviously, the aspect that I wanted to speak to you most about it was the music, because obviously you're a musician yourself, and the music plays such a big part in Jaws. I mean, what are your thoughts on the music?
Well, I became a huge John Williams fan because of that movie. I mean, that's where it all started for me. I love scores, and I pay a lot of attention to scores and who composes them and all that stuff. And I didn't have any aspirations to become a musician at the time, but I love music, and I've always loved music. So, I was very much aware of how fantastic that score was and how important it was to that movie. I mean, that in and of itself
Mm.
Spielberg plus John Williams being able to come together, that's one of those marriages made on high that produces something. So, it's a chemistry, Anyway, so but he became, until to this day, he's one of my favorite composers, and I've read books on him. I've gone to his concerts at the Hollywood Bowl here in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Um, and I just watched this documentary on Disney Plus about him, which is great,
Yeah.
and really talks about his history. And but he's such a uniquely talented guy. But that particular idea that he had for the two notes in Jaws is one of the all-time greatest score movie composing pieces ever. That and Psycho. you
Yeah.
know,
Well, there are massive similarities and comparisons to Jaws and
Psycho was only
Psycho.
one note. So,
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? But Jaws and Psycho are both really great lessons in sort of less is more, whether that's showing the shark or not, or whether it's the music or whatever kind of aspect that it is. And I think you're right. I mean, I think Spielberg has credited John Williams with giving him the shark he didn't have, and Jaws wouldn't have been half as successful as it was had the music
no,
not been the way that it was.
it was a really important factor in the delivery of that movie. And ironically, when I saw John Williams last time, Spielberg was there, and he is very generous with credits towards John's uh, what his music does to any given scene. So, and
Mm.
he made a point of doing a scene. I think it was from one of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the one with River Phoenix in it. That scene.
Oh, The Last
I don't know.
Crusade. Yes,
Yeah, Last Crusade, right? I think Sean Connery was in it, right?
that's right.
And
Yeah.
they played the train scene. It's in its entirety, as you see it, without any music.
Mm.
And it's just the Foley audio and whatever other background noise there was. And
Hmm.
they played the whole scene. And then after you're done watching that on the big screens at the Hollywood Bowl, then they played the shot again with the orchestra and John Williams' score. And
Mm.
it just brought the whole thing to life. So it's a really important, in any movie, the score is such an important part of what emotionally, how it comes across and how
Mm.
dynamic it is. But
Yeah.
John Williams is one of the all-time greatest movie composers.
Oh, he really is. And there's actually footage on, I think it's on our YouTube channel, where there was an evening with John Williams and it was hosted by Richard Dreyfuss, and they did exactly the same thing with Jaws, where the music
So,
was taken away. And then all of a
yeah, I
sudden,
haven't seen that with Jaws. I have to check that
it's
out.
in terms of Jaws itself, it's not just about the music, it's also about the acting, the writing, and everything else. And for me, it's still the most perfectly cast movie of all time. Do you have any favorite characters at all?
Well, okay, so being a kid of the 70s, I was really steeped in late 60s and 70s movies, right? And so I was a big fan of Roy Scheider anyway,
Hmm.
because of the French Connection and was it the French Connection, the Seven Ups, and so I was he was like a big sort of great New York cop type anyway.
Hmm.
Um, I also loved Robert Shaw because of The Sting and uh, what was the James Bond movie? Not
Oh,
Gold,
From Russia with Love. That's
right?
my favorite James Bond movie because of him. He's phenomenal in that film.
Yeah, so I was a big Robert Shaw fan, and I was a 10, so I was a movie buff even
Hmm.
then. And then Richard Dreyfuss, who I actually ended up meeting, not well, it was a while ago now, but years later I ended up meeting him. But I was a fan of his to some extent because he was a different type of a character in movies. After The Graduate, it was the one movie that everybody saw, and there was something else that I knew him from. And he was a different kind of character. But the thing is also I read the book before I saw the movie, right? So I got
Hmm.
into the whole idea of seeing that movie, and I read the book first. And those three guys in my mind before I saw the movie, I thought this is perfect for these characters in this for this book. So I had a lot of anticipation going into it. Anyway, so but Roy Schreider was my favorite, and Robert Shaw. Those two guys were my favorite characters. But they're an ensemble, so I don't want to take anything away from Dreyfuss either. They worked as a like a band. You know,
Yeah.
they were the what's this expression? The sum of the parts, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
The
So
whole is more than equal to the sum of the parts. Yeah, I think that's it.
anyway, so they were awesome, and of course the elusive Bruce was great.
Yeah, I think the thing with those three guys, there was that lightning in a bottle, and it's interesting what you say about Richard Dreyfuss being a sort of different type of actor. He didn't sort of maybe have the same physicality or
He was
that
a
kind of
nerd.
quality. Mm.
He was a nerd. I mean, he was famously made a nerd from The Graduate. It says that's who Richard Dreyfuss was. He was that guy. And if you were sort of like me and like into the sort of tough guy cop movies or any of that or horror movies, he wasn't your favorite type of character. I mean, in other words, I wasn't drawn to movies that were basically sort of Richard Dreyfuss type movies.
Mm.
But he was perfect for Hooper, and I became a big fan of his after Jaws. Very collegiate character.
Yeah, I again, like when I was a kid, when I first saw Jaws, because I saw it when I was about five, I fell in love with sharks, and I automatically sort of related to Hooper straight away because I just love the excitement and enthusiasm he had. And I think if you see Jaws when you're younger, that's generally the character you kind of sort of attract to or influenced by. For me, Jaws isn't necessarily just about films and filmmaking or books, which we'll hopefully have time to come on to. But it sort of creates a shark camp as well. People are either terrified of sharks or they're absolutely fascinated to the point where they actually have a career in sharks and marine biology or whatever it happens to be. I mean, where are you on that sort of shark
Well, I
scale?
mean, I came into this world an animal lover. I can't remember anything that inspired it any moment. It was just for as long as I can remember. And I was
Mm.
born in England, as you know, so
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time at the London Zoo and the Natural History Museum, and so dinosaurs and animals and all that kind of stuff,
Mm.
and sharks and all that. But seeing Jaws gave me a whole fascination where I was, 'cause I draw, and so I draw whatever I was into, and I went through a big shark phase with that.
Mm.
So I learned everything I could about sharks based because of that movie was what really inspired it. But I don't think there's any single film that's ever caused as much of a fervor over any particular species of animal besides Jaws. It's a double-edged sword because we were killing sharks fucking faster than we could fucking, I mean, really massacring sharks on a big level as a result of Jaws. And I think even Spielberg has talked about, that's one of the regrets that he has about that movie was that it caused such a negative impact on the shark population.
Mm.
But it also brought a lot of attention to sharks on a scientific level and an interest in sharks on that level and a fascination in sharks on that level. So it goes
Mm.
sort of both ways. But it's still there. I mean, when anybody sees a shark attack on the news, they think of Jaws. You know. So I remember being in a swimming pool the year that movie came out at dusk in some apartment complex and not being able to see the other side of the pool and not feeling comfortable.
So many people have stories like that. Going swimming in the pool, having a bath, since watching Jaws, just being in
Yeah.
water freaks people out.
It's an incredible impact. I mean, it's such a cultural and significant cultural impact, and
Mm.
that stood the test of time on top of it. Not to mention the
Yeah.
movie, it's just as entertainment has stood the test of time as well. That movie is pretty timeless.
Oh, it's incredible. It's very difficult to pick kind of when it's made. And I know you said that you met Richard Dreyfuss at a point. Did you get to meet Steven Spielberg as well, by any chance, when you're
Yes.
at the thing?
Yeah, no, I've met Steven a couple times.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I've never talked to him about Jaws. I would never do that. I could because
Mm.
that's got to be the most obnoxious thing to have to deal with on a regular basis. So we didn't really talk about anything having to do with that. But I didn't bring it up with Richard Dreyfuss either. I met him in a hotel in London
Mm,
back in 2000. I guess that was like 2005. I was
mm,
on tour, a band called Velvet Revolver, and we were staying at the Athenaeum Hotel. And anyway, and Richard was in the dining area,
mm.
and I walked by and I looked and obviously I was looking at him and he actually acknowledged me, which was weird because I don't know if he really knew who I was or what that was about. But when I was coming back from the bathroom, we shook hands and said hi, and that was the long and short of it. We just sort of like said hi to each other and went on about our thing.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, there is someone that would like to say hello. So if you bear with me just one moment.
Slash,
Yeah.
wait, I'm missing you.
Hi, there you are.
There I am.
Wow.
Oh, fuck. It's 50 years. A woman asked me the other day, she goes, 50 years? How old were you when you made it? I said, now I got to be honest about my age. I was 9.
Oh, no way.
Hey, hey, I had met years and years ago the guy who nicknamed you Slash, Seymour.
Seymour. You know
Yeah.
Seymour.
Oh, this is, look, I had hair. Fuck.
Wow. Yeah, Seymour was I actually, I mean, I don't want to get off the subject, but I went to a screening yesterday or day before yesterday with Seymour's son Matt, who was my best friend when we were in high school, which is
Oh,
how
see, I didn't know him.
so that's how I met Seymour in the first place. And my parents knew him. It's funny. I would have been, had I met you on the street, I would have been just as like, whoa.
You would never known that was me.
I always think about you with the having to go out and paint those fucking signs.
Oh, that's so funny. And I was afraid of heights. It took me, I had to climb up that ladder. It wasn't that high, but shit, I hated it.
Oh man. I don't think there's anybody that I've ever met that's seen the movie that said they didn't like it. It's just one of these great
I get it.
magical ensemble casts with a great, the Gottlieb's writing with, I
Yeah.
mean, there was so much in it that made the movie great. It's undeniable. And so I've always been, and I'm a big fan of monster movies and also like cop movies. And it's got all these elements. It's in its own way. It's sort of a monster movie, and it's got it's
Yeah,
got
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
horror kind of vibe to it. And that was always my favorite thing as a kid anyway.
You know,
So yeah,
it was a perfect creative storm. I
yeah,
mean, nothing worked. And we thought, oh my God, they're going to pull the plug. They were well twice over budget. My
yeah.
part got bigger because they had nothing to shoot sometimes. They shot out all the cover. There was nothing to do. So they'd say, get the dead in here.
Yeah,
And we
and
go,
that's what's so great about it. I've read so many like little things about, Jaws, making of Jaws books way back then. I think like in
yeah,
1977, I had a Jaw making of Jaws book, and there's so many great stories about how this movie almost didn't happen, and for
without a doubt.
reasons. Yeah,
Everything came together. You know, as a producer, you can appreciate it. This didn't work. This thing, the music,
yeah,
that's everything. You know, in Jaws 2, Scheider sat out in the sun so long they had to color correct him in the final mix. True story. In a
yeah.
G string, he'd sit out there. And the
That's
joke was that if any of us ever went to prison, you got 6 months off of any jail term just for doing Jaws 2 in Pensacola. But in those days, you saw a nuclear powered aircraft carrier in the back. You just had to wait till it passed. Now you can Chiron it out and
yeah, 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 yeah.
green screen it and whatever. But
Old
I just
ingenuity.
love that you of all people love this movie. It's
Yeah.
honorable, I'm a fan and I like it.
Well, Jeffrey, I'm a lifelong fan, and it's great to meet you. It's a huge
Oh, what a
honor.
pleasure!
I had
Thanks,
no
kid.
idea such a surprise.
I wanted to pop out and surprise you. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan. Thanks, kid.
All right.
All
All right,
right,
Thanks,
man.
Jeffrey.
love
Take
you
care, mate.
guys.
Bye bye.
See
Bye.
you.
Hey guys, it's Ross. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the series. I just wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit about some of the organisations that we've been working with that help make this episode possible. Stern Pinball. the oldest and largest designer and manufacturer in arcade quality pinball games. Here is their Jaws game.
Fire the harpoon! Shoot! Fast fish.
Well, nothing's easy, is it?
This shark will eat anything.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Pretty cool, huh? Well, Stern don't only make pinball machines, they've also made a generous donation to the two organisations that we're spotlighting throughout the series. Minorities in Shark Sciences, or MISS for short, a non-profit founded in 2020 that champions diversity in shark, ray and marine sciences. MISS creates equitable opportunities for historically underrepresented communities through hands-on programs and believes that diverse scientists bring diverse ideas, driving the innovation essential for ocean conservation. Representation matters, and MISS is making sure the next generation sees a place for themselves in marine biology. Learn more and support their mission at missalesmo.org. The mission of the Tourette Association of America is to provide help and hope to those affected by Tourette syndrome, tic disorders, and associated conditions through awareness, research, and support. It's the only national organisation serving the community and works to raise awareness, advance research, and provide ongoing support to patients and families impacted by Tourette syndrome and tic disorders. To this end, the Tourette Association of America directs a network of 31 chapters, 83 support groups, and recognises 18 centres of excellence across the country. It's a non-profit organisation and is extremely close to the heart of not just Jeffrey Kramer, but also his family. Guys, thanks for listening. Let's get back to the conversation.
I had no idea that was coming.
Yeah, well, this is kind of why I was just we're trying to schedule this correctly, because Jeffrey, when I said that I was going to be speaking to you, because he didn't believe you were a fan of the movie, and then I'm like, yes, he is. He's a massive fan. And then I said, like, can you join the call? And he's like, I'd love to. So I'm like, and we're trying to get someone from the movie on as many interviews as we can potentially, so people can just have a chance to speak to someone who's been involved in the film. So it's I'm really glad that worked out, which actually brings me to my next question randomly, because so far on the series, obviously we're speaking to yourself, we've spoken to Charlie Benente, Phil from Pantera has done a little section for us, and we're going to be speaking to Jeremy Wagner from Broken Hope. What is it with Jaws and Rockstars? You all seem to love this movie. Is there what's the score there? What's going on?
No, I don't think it's so much rock stars per se. I think it's a lot of people love the movie and rock stars being included. Kids who grew up in the movie that are rock stars. I don't think they intersect because of the career and this whatever it is about the movie. I think that it just reached such a wide audience, and part of that are people that are in the music business, you know?
Yeah. Well, as we say, Jaws is, well, as you said, Jaws is one of those perfect movie scores. So
Yeah, but also that said, I mean, I think that rock and roll and genre movies have always been synonymous because they're a little bit on the outside of the commercial edge. You know, Jaws is a standard of the industry now, but at the time it was sort of broke a whole lot of new ground, and there weren't any. I mean, that movie was probably supposed to be at a medium budget, you know.
Yeah, I think it was about $2-3 million, something like that.
So many theaters, it wasn't expected to be what it was, so it broke the mold, you know. And so effectively Jaws is really just a mid-budget sort of medium budget horror movie. And rock musicians and rock and roll music really love that kind of stuff. And so, but then also obviously Jaws broke out and became one of these huge all-time blockbusters. So everybody loves it. But had it not been that, rock stars would have loved it. I think next to Black Sabbath, there's nothing heavier than those two notes.
Wow.
You play it on guitar and it's fucking
Yeah.
so
I tell you,
that's another reason why we would be attracted to the overall, just the way
yeah.
that score works.
God, I hadn't thought. Have you snuck the Jaws theme into any of your songs?
I haven't snuck it into any of my songs. It's too obvious.
On the next album, maybe.
You really can't mess around with those. It's a chromatic thing that you really can't just do those two notes and get away with it because everybody
Yeah,
automatically it's just.
yeah,
So unless you're doing an homage to it, you have to sort of avoid it.
yeah. No, you get sued as well, I guess. So yeah, no, good shout. Um, on social media, on the Daily Jaws, every now and again we will post questions, just looking for an opinion or whatever from our audience. And every now and again we'll post a question that basically causes a war because people get so upset with the answers that other people are giving. So we call them the controversial questions, and I've got a couple of them for you now. So the first question is from the movie Jaws, the first one. If you could only save one person from Chrissy, Alex, Pipit, Ben Gardner, the estuary victim, and Quint, who would you save and
Oh,
why? I'm sorry, man. I've got to ask.
well, I'd probably save Quint just so we could have a proper Jaws too.
Oh, that's a great answer. No one said that yet.
And Pippet would probably be next because I'm an animal guy. But I think I'd save Quint first.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great shout
I was
because
never a fan of Jaws 2. I've never been a huge fan of any of the other Jaws. Second one being better than the rest of them, but
mm,
still, I was never really that. I think maybe just because it was only Schreider and Lorraine Gary and that sort of the rest of the cast was all older and new and
mm.
silly.
What did you think of Jaws 3D and Jaws the Revenge? Because those two are
I
oof.
I saw Jaws the Revenge, I saw in New York at a theater with this guy, a really good friend of mine who passed away that night. So it's very much stuck
Oh
in my
wow.
mind. But we went to go see it and it was fucking terrible. God, it was like, it was just awful. Um, there's nothing else I can say about it. If I remember correctly, that's the one where Lorraine Gary is back, and Mario Van Peebles, I think, was in it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Kane, right? Yeah. No, it
Michael
was
Caine.
it was not good, and it ended up being a not a very positive evening anyway. But yeah, the third one was just silly. The 3D effect was just, it just didn't work.
Mm,
I've seen it. I've given it a chance since then a couple times to try and
mm.
see if there was something I missed about it. But it wasn't great. And Louis Gossett was in it, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I'm a big Louis Gossett fan. He's somebody that I got to know years later, and I did manage to talk to him about shooting that movie, and he said it was great fun to shoot that movie, but it
Mm.
wasn't very good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That was.
Well, on the subject of 3D though, did you see Jaws when it was re-released in a 3D version of it, like the original Jaws?
No, what? No, no. That you mentioned that earlier. I didn't even. I vaguely remember reading that there was a 3D version of the original Jaws
Mm.
in passing, but when you mentioned it, I was going to ask you. I didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah, what is that like?
Honestly,
Uh,
it's amazing. It's
so
it's
like,
I was really worried about it because I thought, oh, this is going to be just another, I don't know, another way of just trying to get money out of people to go and watch Jaws. But when I watched it, I thought this is absolutely incredible. There were a few bits that were really, really amazing. Obviously, the bigger boat scene is incredible, but the bit where you really feel it is when Quint's on the pulpit with the harpoon gun because he's right out at the camera, and when the orca is sinking, and you kind of got that shot with the pulpit sticking towards you as the ship goes down, it literally can reach out and touch the orca. I mean, it was just incredible. So the team that did that, not only did they do justice, but to the original movie, but they found a new way of allowing us to experience and watch it, and it was brilliant. And I saw it in my local theatre down the road, and again, the movie just played. I imagine is the same way it would have done back in '75, And there was a lot of parents bringing their kids there, obviously seeing movies for the first time. So I'm hoping for the 50th that they re-release the 3D version of Jaws across all the cinemas as well as the normal screening because it's just such a great way to experience the film.
I would love to see that. I do remember reading something about it, but it was a limited thing, and I
Mm.
local where I am. So, or
Oh,
maybe I was
it's
on. That's probably what
pos
it was.
maybe, but if you get a chance to watch it, I absolutely highly recommend it, particularly if it's the same print that I saw. In terms of shark movies, obviously we talked about the sequels. Are there any other shark movies besides sort of the Jaws franchise that you quite like?
That's the other thing that Jaws did that was very unique. It ruined the possibility for all future shark movies. What's that? I mean, you can have a shark in passing, like maybe one shark. You can't have a whole movie that's focused on a shark, on sharks,
Yeah.
in that capacity, like an action movie or uh, uh, a shark terror, driven movie, because
Mm.
it just takes you to Jaws every time. I remember seeing, what was it, Deep Water?
Open water.
Open Water, yeah.
Mm.
Which was a great was probably the best one, because it really was just about the idea of the shark for the most part. And it was,
Mm.
but and there was something, Deep Blue Sea, maybe that's what it was.
The
The one,
scientists on the rig.
yeah. And that was like, I mean, you can have sharks in it and so on. But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, anytime you have a movie where sharks are the central character, you just go back to Jaws. So that movie is so unique in how much of an impact on so many levels it's had
Mm.
for so fucking long.
Yeah.
You know?
It is it's ridiculous. I mean, we're sitting here 50 years later talking about it, and the fact that so many people have come forward and given their time just to show their appreciation for the movie, of given this, it's half a century old now, just speaks volumes. There aren't many movies out there that I think would get this much love and attention. Um, so a few more controversial questions, and then we'll round up if that's okay. Um, so one of you mentioned that you're an animal guy. I'm an animal guy as well. I'm a plant-based being. I'm a vegan. So I'm very passionate about Pipit, and there's a part of me that kind of hopes that Pipit lived, because the thing is, we didn't see him actually die. He's the only well, he's not the only person, but
I'm the same
we did.
way, it's
What do
not
you think?
etched in stone. It's
No,
not etched in stone that they bought it.
do you think he lived? Are we
He could
hoping he
have.
lived?
I hope he lived. I hope he lived. I mean, he got Alex in pretty short order, and I doubt those two attacks would have been, technically. I just don't think it would have happened that way.
Yeah.
So Pippin lost somewhere down the beach. Maybe he got a current, an undertow, and got taken out, and he ended up in the Bahamas. Um,
He's back in part four. Although I did do a video a few years ago about Pipit, because I was just very curious about the history of the story of the dog. And as I was researching it, I found something within Jaws that might explain that Pipit may have lived. There's a shot just after the estuary attack where Michael Brody is being pulled to shore, and Roy Scheider is running towards the camera down the bridge, and then he vaults over the bridge. Huh?
yeah. I was gonna say, just, is there a black dog in the background somewhere over there?
There's a black dog on the back of the bridge. Because as soon as I saw
No,
that, I was like,
that could be it, and there was so much focus on what was going on, with the estuary and the shark, the leg and all that kind of stuff, that people just didn't really pay attention. But he made it, you
he
know.
did. He did. Okay. I think we've solved that. Next question. Did they need a bigger boat?
No, what they needed was a radio. Which in essence means, yeah, they could have dialed in for help. But I mean, all things considered, the idea of bringing a bigger boat to chase that shark down, I suppose they had pretty much the top of the line gear to catch a shark, but I don't think
Mm,
anybody actually tried to catch a shark that size before
mm,
on any size boat, really. So
it's
they
true.
might they might have a bigger boat, but might not have the proper resources to catch it above and beyond what they had on that boat, on the Orca. I've never actually really thought about it, but since you asked,
Well, give it some thought and come back to us next week. Tune in next week for part two. Um, Wonderful. So, what do you think then? I mean, obviously, we've covered quite a lot of ground in terms of Jaws, shark movies, the book, and everything. And yeah, as I said before, we've got so many people giving up their time to talk about this movie, because there's just so much support and affection for it. It is timeless, like you say. What do you think is the ultimate legacy of Jaws? Why are we still talking about it 50 years later?
We've actually touched on it a few times. It's just one of those like Jeffrey said, it's a perfect storm of so many things that just make it a perfect movie. And it just doesn't happen that often. It's just it made such a major impact. It was the first summer blockbuster action movie. It had this great cast. The writing was great. It had the I mean, it's not even important that the shark was dysfunctional, but it had this great character as a shark, and it had equally great score. And so all that is why we're talking about it. It just doesn't happen that often where you have a movie that is that impactful, that touched so many of us and stuck with us for so many years, and that we've been watching at least once, if not way many more times, every year since it came out. We've seen that fucking movie. You know, every time I see it on the scrolling through channels and Jaws is on there, I will stop and look at it. I don't even give a shit where it is in the movie. It's like something.
I think that's part of the Jaws laws, isn't it? Whenever Jaws is on TV, even if there's only 5 minutes left, you stop and you watch it. I think it's absolutely right.
Not even so much about the influence it has on filmmakers. I mean, it has a bit, it has reasons why but it's not so much about all the different little nuances of how it's made that really it's just what ended up as the final product. It's not even about sitting there analyzing how Roy Schreider acted or Robert Shaw, although we love them and we watch it and we see all these nuances that they're doing. It's unique to them. We're not even trying to borrow it anymore. We just love seeing it. It's really unique.
Oh, amazing. Well, I couldn't have put that much better myself. Jaws is an absolutely unique movie, and this has been a very unique interview. Apparently, you've now been cast as a judge on Ally McBeal by producer Jeffrey Kramer. So I guess
I didn't even know he was the producer. So that I had no idea. But that was a huge shock, and I really thank you for that. That made my day.
Oh, in all honesty, right back at you. I mean, I've been trying to control my inner fanboy since you come online, because you've been a big inspiration for me. Because I actually play drums, not very well, but I was listening to your stuff sort of when I was a teenager. So it's a real privilege to be able to connect with you, and also thank you for just being such a great supporter of the Daily Jaws. I know you've been a long time fan, and you've always been responsive. It's
Wendy, you guys, I was like, oh, there's a site I can follow. and you're pretty prolific. I don't know. You come up with some stuff that, like, where did he come up with that as, new information today? It's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. Well, that coming from you, that does mean a lot. And before I go completely fanboy, I think I am going to sign off. So before I sign off, do you have any final words for the fans or the Jaws fans watching and listening?
I guess just, saying hi. We all have a mutual appreciation, which puts us into a sort of a family, albeit a big family. But, so it's great to know that there's other people out there that are just sort of obsessed with this movie and love it as much as I do, if not more so, looking from the collection of Jaws paraphernalia you got behind you. Although I have to admit, I have most of that stuff.
So, guys, I've been Ross, speaking with Slash for the 50th anniversary of Jaws. Until next time, I'll drink to your legs and I'll bid you a fond farewell and adieu. That's it for today's deep dive into Jaws, the film that turned beaches into no-swim zones and created the summer blockbuster. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to follow, rate and review. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, just when you thought it was safe to stop listening, there's plenty more episodes to come. Thanks again to Stern Pinball for making this episode possible. Please be sure to check out the work of Minorities in Shark Sciences and also the Tourette's Association of America. That's it for now, guys, but I'll catch you next time. I'll drink to your legs.